Hello and welcome back to another festive coding session with Mr. Jacob. On this 19th day of December in our Advent of Languages, where we strive to implement the same thing in a different language each day in the 24 first days of December, today we want to do another session of that, and we want to implement something that outputs more or less this ASCII art Christmas tree. And today's language actually is XSLT. So you might think that is not really a language because it is simply the way of defining in a certain XML syntax a transformation on XML documents. However, you can actually program in this thing. And that's what I want to do with you now. I already prepared a sort of a little development environment, so to speak, for us. We got something like a little make file and a Docker file, which will simply create us a container, which allows us to have all the different Java and XSLT proc dependencies in there to actually kind of simply transform an XML document using an XML and XSLT, so a style sheet for our XML files, into whatever we would like. And we have already our input XML here, and that is actually our input XML document. So what we want in the end is we want to put into our style sheet this XML document defining the number of groups that we want, and we want then the Christmas tree to actually come out of that as a result. And I have created the body, so to speak, of our XSLT because I can never remember something like this namespace, for example. Essentially, this only defines basically that we want an XML style sheet here, that we have an output method of text currently, which is what we want here. We want to output not an XML document, but simply text. We could output this as an XML, of course, as well. And then we have our initial template call, which essentially simply says match all of the Hello Xmas elements, which we had here in our, where was it, tree XML. So there we actually had this Hello Xmas element, and we want to kind of match that and then work on that. That's actually more or less where our entry point to this whole thing is and where this starts. So let's kind of get going here and try to do that. And first of all, I think we need to somehow isolate those groups there. So we need this grouping information here to pass it on to other functionality of our template. So what we first of all do here is we define a new variable, an XSL variable, which is named, let's name that one groups, and we simply select that via XPath from our XML. So we are now in this element Hello Xmas, and we are simply selecting the attribute, which is denoted by this @ sign here from our current element. And so we now have a variable defined here, which actually is named groups and should actually hold that that groups element there. And I guess now we should start by simply calling into another template function here, which we then actually can use to do all the work there and print out our Christmas tree. So as with all our other programs before, we have something like print groups or print tree first maybe. So we do an XSL call template, I think this is template name, maybe something like create tree. Yeah, I guess that would be a nice thing to do there. And we need, of course, to close this call template, and I have no idea why my VI does not do that for me. And we need to specify I guess we need to specify a variable there. So we want to pass actually our groups here into that thing as a param. So XSL, come on, XSL param name would be in this, I think, groups, and we want to select the variable that we already have. So we denote that by a $sign there, and we put in groups there. So that would actually be our call to our create tree template. And now we need to do something like we need to create a create tree template. So let's do that. We have another XML template here, which has simply now the name create tree. And XSL template. Yeah, I have no idea why my Vim does not help me with it, but yeah, okay, maybe it's just not correctly configured with for XSLT. I guess after or in the Christmas on my Christmas vacation, I will take the time to properly reconfigure my whole VI setup. Okay, now so we have now a Christmas tree there. Or a template named Christmas tree, and what we need to define here is that it actually gets a param. So is that actually called param? I think it is called param. So we have a name which we want to have here is actually the groups param, and yeah, that can't work like that. Okay, and I'm thinking about the calling is different. This is actually with param. So we want to call the template with param, and the param that we are actually supplying to this template is actually here. And I don't understand why it's kind of, yeah, strangely destroying all of my indentations here. So let me quickly check. Did I do something wrong here? No, it actually looks okay. So maybe it's just VI not properly configured. Can I actually set something like set FT? Is there an XSLT type in Vim? Maybe that's the reason. XSLT actually is only XML, so this should work out. However, no idea. Okay, so now that we have this create tree thingy here, let's maybe just see that we can actually output something by doing something like XSL text here, and we can do something like hello Xmas, and we could actually interpolate this. No, we cannot that easily, I guess. Let's just do it like that. Let's quickly save that, and let's take a quick look at our output. And as you can see, it now actually read our style sheet here and our tree input XML file, and it created from that hello Xmas. So basically this seems to work as it should. So what we now need to do is, with this new template here, is we need to call another template. So let's maybe quickly copy that, because it's a little bit gruesome to type all of that. So we do something like create groups, and we put in there the amount of groups that we still want there. So that is actually something that we can call there. Then let's maybe copy this whole template here, and let's call that create groups, and it takes the groups. And internally, I guess it will call create group, because we now need to do some looping over our groups. And that is actually something that we can only do recursively in XSLT. So this is a whole kind of functional way of doing it, so to speak. So we put in the current maybe iteration count. So we could do something like, let me quickly see how we would do that actually. We should put in there two parameters actually. We put in there the groups, the max groups, and the current the current iterations. So we would put in there something like an n, for example, and that would be 0 by default when we actually run this and call this. And then we can actually take this n here, and now we should be able to call create groups again in the end. Wait, let me quickly see. So what I want to do here is, every time create groups is called, we are assuming we are calling it with a non-zero value. However, we could actually think about that. So yeah, we are assuming we are calling it with a non-zero value. So first we are calling create group, which we give exactly the same things. So maybe the groups as well as the current n value. So the kind of the max groups and the n. And then we will simply do an XSL. There is an if in XSL. So if test the n is still smaller than our groups, I think. So if this actually here is holds still true, we want to recurse one level down, don't we? So the question here is if it's still less. Yeah, if it needs to be less, because we don't want to recurse down anymore if it is the same. So we are simply doing it like that, and we can do XSL if here. We close that actually, and then whoa, and then something really strange with my VI happens there, whatever that was. I have no idea. And if this is actually the case, we are stealing this invocation here because we are needing more or less the same thing here. And we are calling ourselves recursively. We are giving us the groups, and then we are giving us n plus 1. So we are actually going one up for our loop, so that in the end this condition here will be false, and we will not recurse further down into the creation of our output there. Okay, so now essentially what we should create is a create group template. So let's maybe steal this header here. Let's copy that down here. Let's do something like create group, which in the end needs the same attributes like groups and n. We gave it that. And now we need to call into a couple of other templates that we are going to create. First of all, I guess what we need to do is we need to print out the initial spaces of our tree. So if we quickly take a look at our README here, we have those groups. That is what we are currently iterating over. And what we want is the spaces in front of that. And we can calculate actually how many that are based on the number of maximum groups and the iteration level we are currently in. However, we need a way to kind of print them out. So I guess what we want here is we want a template maybe called spaces or something like that, and we could give it a param called spacing or just n. We just go with n, and essentially the spacing that we now want to print here is actually the number of, let me quickly check, the maximum number of groups, minus the current iteration level. That's actually the number of spaces that we want to print. So let's maybe quickly create this spaces template here as well. So we just called it spaces, and it takes an n, and it will be an XSL template there, and it will simply do an XSL. No, wait. We should definitely have a check if it is already below 0. So what we will do here is we'll do an XSLF if test, and we will do if n is less than or equal to 0. No, if it's bigger than that. If it's bigger than 0, then we want XSL if. Then we want to actually do something like XSL text. We want to print out a certain text, and we want, I'm not sure if we now need to do something like non-breaking space here or something like that. I think we need to, not 100% sure, we will see. Or do we need to do something like the escape code for the something like 0x20 or something like that? Actually, we will see. We will see, I guess. So XSLT, because spaces are a little bit special in XSLT, because as you can see, a lot of this is full of spaces, and we need to somehow define that we now really want to print out a space. However, what we are going to do here is then we are printing out this one, and then we are calling down to do an XSL, and let's quickly steal that again. because it can make our life easier to just copy the call down there. And what we now do is we do n-1 and call ourselves again recursively with n-1 until we have kind of reached the end there. And then we should be ready. So now we should be able to print spaces. Then we can actually steal this one and do something like we want actually a slash there. And I think that one should hopefully work just as a slash. And then we want spaces again. Let's see. And we want, in this situation, the inner spaces, which actually are n, so the iteration level times 2 spaces. And then we want some text again, which actually is now a backspace. However, not sure that, I guess we can just do it like that. We will see if this, if we need to actually escape that. However, the breaking syntax highlighting here tells me something that somehow that this might not work, or we just did it wrong there. Okay, so now we have our first line of our Christmas tree. So we need the second one. However, the second one is quite easy. We can kind of copy all of that here. So all of that, and let's maybe just create quickly a comment above here, saying, come on, second line. And let's copy that over here. And this is first line, just to show for ourselves where we do what. And now what we need to do is change the spacing. So the spacing to the left is 1 less because it's 1 over to the left. And actually the spacing in between is n times 2, n plus 1 times 2, because it is the spacing of the next level. That is actually how this zigzag shape is constructed. So the spacing here is 2 spaces, and that is actually the spacing of the next level, which is 2 spaces as well. So let's see. We now have that, and essentially if we now check if this is output, it should already maybe output some sort of tree for us. So let's see. Okay, and I did something wrong there. So what did I wrong there? Let me see. So opening and ending tag mismatch, template line 3, and so on. I think I need to do this within my terminal because I'm not sure how I actually can scroll up in the output there of the VI thingy there. So it's actually not allowing me to do... Oh! That's actually interesting. Okay, so I need to actually, I see, I need to escape the conditions within, that's interesting. I haven't used that for a long time. So it wants me to actually escape those characters with the corresponding thingies here. So this should be then less than, and we had somewhere else an if. Let's see, so this should be then greater than the escaping character there. Okay, so would it now work, or okay, so now it's something else. Entity NBSP is not defined. Yeah, okay, so we need to do it the hex kind of way. So it should be XA, I guess, as a the hex A, yeah, that should be a space, maybe, hopefully. And interesting. That did not work as I expected it to. So what did we do wrong there? Wait, no, A is actually A would be a 10, wouldn't? A would actually be a 10. So it's I just put a new line there. So what I actually wanted to do there is I wanted to put there a 20 in hex, which is actually 14, I guess. So let's see again. Invalid character. Wait, what? Why is that an invalid character? Okay, can I just give it a space there then? Would that work? Okay, it seems that a space simply works. So now we need, okay, So now we can actually do something like we need to put after each of those things a new line, and that is where I would actually print something like XA. And yeah, okay, so that is actually a new line after each of those thingies there. So let's see if we now can create our Christmas tree. And we did something wrong with our calculation there. I guess it is because we are doing the checking of this iteration. Where is it? This one here. We are doing that after we actually did this call. So what we should do is actually put that in there and only create this if we are still less than groups. So if we are less than groups, then we create that and go to the next level. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense. So let's see. And now we have the initial part of our Christmas tree. So let's maybe now go on and create this this trunk part. So first of all, I guess we need something like our spaces thingy again to just create the divider. So let's call it like that, divider. And I always spell that wrong. So divider, we need the number of groups in here, and the groups should be bigger than 0. Then we actually want to put a minus there, not a space. And then we call ourselves recursively again, and we give us the groups, and we do groups -1. However, dividers should be printed a little bit different. So what we actually need here is we need a second iteration thingy there. So we need something like an n here, which should actually kind of start at 0. And what we want to check now is that actually our n, which is our counter up, is less than, or do we actually want to simply put in the amount of dividers that we would print? That would actually be a lot easier. So let's maybe make this go back here again, and let's call this n. And we simply will create a function, this divider function, which will simply repeat the given amount, or print the given amount of dividers. Then it would be exactly the same as with our spaces thing. And then we can go into our primary function here, where we have created called create groups, and we actually call now divider here, and we simply put in the number of dividers that we want, and the number of dividers that we want is actually groups times 2 plus 2. Come on. This is actually the amount of dividers that we want to be printed there. And then we need a new line after that. So we want an XML text. We want an A here, so a new line feed there, and we want that as XML text. Let me indent that correctly. And then we need our trunk. So we need to kind of steal something like that again. Let's do that. Let's do create trunk here, and let's give it groups. We don't need an n, it only needs the groups. And now we can actually steal this declaration here, go to the bottom where we now create trunk. It takes the groups. It is an XSL template here. And it gets this groups parent thingy there, and it will do a call against spaces because we need a couple of spaces. So an XSL call template against spaces, and we give it n, and n is based on groups because we want exactly groups spaces in front of our trunk spaces, our trunk signs there. And then we will do something like XSL text, and we simply put 2 pipes there, and we put a new line after that directly. And now we should be able to do it like that. And essentially what we want is this 2 times. So let me copy that and call that again. So the next one will be spaces again, followed by this trunk there. And we already create trunk. We already called that, didn't we? So yeah, we actually called that already. So now if I do a make, we should actually see our Christmas tree, and we don't, because I kind of, I guess, didn't put a semicolon somewhere in line 25. Yes, exactly. There should have been a semicolon after our entry there. And as you can see now, it prints our Christmas tree. And if I go now back into our tree XML, and I simply make this one, for example, an 8 or something like that, and I now do make again, it will simply create a larger Christmas tree. So it essentially now we have written a style sheet for this XML file. So we have an XML file where we apply a style sheet against, our Christmas tree will be created. And that is kind of a cool thing, I guess. So I can maybe like 7 or what fits in my terminal currently. Let's see. Yeah, this fits actually quite perfectly. So this hello Xmas XSLT style sheet here. Now come on. This thing here, this monstrosity of XML, actually generates now a Christmas tree for us in ASCII art. And we could, for example, change this to maybe create some sort of HTML there. That wouldn't be that hard actually. However, we already took quite a lot of time, because it is that verbose to create XML style sheets. However, even though XML style sheets are looking kind of verbose, it's always really nice to see what you can do with them. And actually at work, I'm using them quite a lot as a template language, actually, to create stuff out of XML data. And it really works nice and performant, and it does what it should do. So if you didn't know about XSLT, so the possibility of creating style sheets in XML that are then applied against those XML or against arbitrary XML files to process and convert them, then you have learned something again. And I hope you had fun watching me do this, as much fun as I had doing all the copy and pasting and renaming stuff in this verbose language of XSLT. So I hope you will join me in the next one, when we are tomorrow at the 20th day of December in our Advent of Languages. So see you hopefully in the next one. Bye!